I'm Rebecca. Welcome back to Taco Tuesdays, where we talk about good food, fitness, and everything in between. Our goal with these
And
talks is to provide you with some really good, high value action items that you can actually take in your life and implement to have a healthier, happier life and make those changes yourself.
yes, we're definitely in the everything in between area today.
We are.
So we're we're in the and beyond part of Bed Bath and Beyond. Um, I'm Brandon. If you're with us live on Facebook, either in our Just for Fun group, Drop the Fat, Not the Tacos, or in our Clean Club coaching group, give us a thumbs up. Let us know you're here because we like to know that we're talking to more than just ourselves. If you are not in one of our Facebook groups and you're listening on our podcast, then you can come to our Facebook group, one of our Facebook groups, or befriend one of us on Facebook, even better, because then you get all the stuff. And you can be part of the conversation. You can ask questions, and that is super fun. So you should do that. Drop the Fat, Not the Tacos. Or if you are interested in our Clean Club coaching group, come check that out. Let's get moving.
Perfect. Well, today, I am really excited about our discussion because we're finding out all about how Contra Costa Fitness and Drop the Fat, Not the Tacos came to be. If you're listening and you're like, what the heck is Drop the Fat, Not the Tacos? It is our free community on Facebook where we support each other, mostly people wanting to live a healthier life, but not wanting to entirely give up from eating the foods that they love, like tacos, and we'll get into that later.
Tacos.
But the whole idea today is to understand why Brandon and I are different, why Contra Costa Fitness is different, and why it's so important to us to keep things, well, simple when it comes to your health and wellness, right? And so on that note, before we get too deep, Brandon, can you share with our listeners what exactly Brandon Glass did before there even was a Contra Costa Fitness and why you were doing that?
Big question. So, guys, pretty unscripted today. What did I do? Brandon did a lot of stuff before.
Let's talk about
before Contra Costa Fitness. I don't want to go too far back. I was a young athlete growing up, so always had an interest. I diverted away from athletics and became a huge troublemaker. I got in a lot of trouble, guys. I was bad. Fortunately, I was an athlete, so I didn't get caught a lot. It was really fast. I don't know how much we want to get into that. I'll let you ask me for scary stories if you want them.
That sounds like a private chat conversation right there.
I was a musician. I am a musician. A big part of how I got into so much trouble, and have some awesome and not so awesome stories. Long story short, moved on from getting into trouble. I eventually got married, had kids. I was working at an elementary school for a really long time. That's where I met my beautiful wife, Rachel, and our two kids, Kate and Rowan, soon to follow. And yeah, I bounced around in different areas of interest. I started out in college studying early child development. I was working at a school, did that a long time. I moved from that to horticulture. I studied horticulture for a while. I went to EMT school for a while. I was going to be a firefighter, and then decided that having kids and running into burning buildings probably wasn't going to work out.
I always forget about the horticulture part until you're standing in my front yard telling me about all the weird trees and flowers around my house. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot he's into that.
Yeah, I have a passion for that still. Definitely. Worked in landscaping for a while, kind of on and off. I studied addiction counseling as well, and really was going to make a career out of that. And it's just a tough place to be, tough field, and I have a lot of respect for the people who stick to that field.
Here, here.
Yeah, very important people. So I knew I wanted to help people. I ended up deciding on committing to physical therapy school. Went to physical therapy school. And that was a real journey. I loved it. Had a blast. I have some great friends from that time who were really important to me. And I got a job right out of school. I interned at the VA here in Martinez. They offered me a job at the close of my internship. I worked there for 5 years.
Wow.
And yeah, it was awesome. I loved who I served at the VA. The mission of the VA is incredible. It's a really important place. It's always going to have a really special place in my heart. And I made some awesome changes there and met some amazing people there.
Absolutely. We were just talking yesterday about veterans and all of that. I come from a family of veterans, so I appreciate what you do just from that perspective. But if you enjoyed working there and you seemed like you loved it, you loved what you were doing, why aren't you still there? What happened? Why did you go, I'm going to leave and make this other business where I'm going to do personal training and health coaching? What made you do that?
Yeah, I'm going to leave the security of a federal job. Well, working for the federal government is tough. It was, it was hard. There was a lot of really frustrating things about working for the federal government. What happened though was that I also ran the gym at the VA where I was. So I was also the trainer there, and I didn't feel like there were enough resources for people who were just trying to like get in shape and manage their lives. So what would happen a lot of the time with me was that I would have a patient who would come through treatment with me. They'd get to the end of treatment and be ready for discharge from physical therapy, and then where do they go, right? They go out into the real world. And I didn't, I was looking around for trainers who I could refer my patients to, and I just couldn't find them. Yeah. And, not that there weren't great trainers out there, but working with the specific, things that I was working with, people with neurological conditions and diseases, history of major traumatic injury, things like that. I just couldn't find anybody. So I decided to do it myself. I decided to start my own business and start seeing people outside. So that's what I did. And even now, right? Like it's a very different thing. Right. But that's how I ended up transferring out. So that grew into, it just got big enough that I had to make a decision whether to stay at the VA or make a go at this full time.
And clearly we all know the answer to that decision. So you left the VA, and it sounds like it was very organic and very natural that you moved into personal training. And that was towards the end of 2019 that you really had Contra Costa Fitness going, and you were away from the VA and getting that bad boy up and running. Tell us what it was like in the beginning. Were you just doing personal training? Were you teaching classes like you are now? What did it look like when you first started?
It was quite different. Yeah. So I was doing some boot camp classes. I was doing like some outdoor boot camp classes. I moved that indoors because, weather. And I was doing home visits. So I was seeing everyone at home. I was traveling a lot. The majority of my clients were were people with like neurological conditions. So I had a lot of Parkinson's clients, and they needed me to be right there. And I was working with their families too. So I was doing a lot of like coaching families also. But the bulk of what I was doing was all in person.
Gotcha.
So, but when I decided to finally go full time, I left the VA, turned in my, I gave them like 3 months notice and transitioned and blah, blah, blah. My last day at the VA was March 1st, 2020.
Oh, really? I don't think I knew
Yeah.
that. That's fascinating. So, okay, before we get there to March of 2020, doom and gloom,
Good times. Yeah.
around this time that you were doing your transition, leaving the VA to be Contra Costa Fitness 100% dedicated,
Yeah.
a very good friend of yours, someone who also happens to be a pretty good friend of mine, but I think you got the one up on me there. They told you that it was vital that you network. And I just found this out recently, by the way. And at the beginning of 2020, a very important thing happened where you and I intersected paths for the first time when you joined my networking group. And little did I know that, or either of us know what was coming in 2020. And then the pandemic hit in March of 2020, where everything shut down here in California. I was in Hawaii enjoying my honeymoon. You were enjoying your new networking group. And how the heck did that affect Contra Costa Fitness? And what did you have to do? Because we all had to shift gears at that point. So tell us what happened then.
Yeah, that was a really crazy time. I was lucky, I jumped first before any of that. Like, yeah, huge shout out to Risa Gross, actually of Trio Skincare locally here. Good friend of mine, and her daughter Nicole is a really good friend of mine. So Nicole, if you're watching, I love you. Yeah, and thanks for all of that. So I've known Nicole for a really long time. Nicole, since like 6th grade, she introduced me to her mom, or I already knew her mom, and she was like, yeah, network. So got into the group, met you shortly thereafter. But yeah, then things immediately shut down, and my business was like dead. Like I mentioned, all of my clients were all in person. And almost all of them. I had like one online client. I had started to go like, I should look into this. Like I had a client who moved, and they wanted to keep working with me, and so we had kind of worked that out. But it was very like, it was very loose. I was learning. So when the pandemic happened, the first lockdown happened, I pivoted immediately. I just had I just knew that it was not going to be like a 3-week thing or a 1-month thing. And so I went online with my boot camps first. I lost a lot of clients because I couldn't be right there with them to make sure they didn't fall or things like that. So I was really focused on the boot camps at first.
And you still did personal training virtually, because that was kind of how we got started. Was I hired you to do personal training with my husband and I, because we weren't digging the whole workout from home thing.
Yeah. So I started really getting into the coaching. I started looking at, lifestyle and what people were struggling with. And it wasn't just like, I need a workout.
Wait, hold the phone. I'm sorry. So you're telling me that there was a point in time where there was such a thing as no Coach Brandon? There was just Trainer Brandon? Oh my gosh. Like, it's so hard to imagine that there was a time where there wasn't a Coach Brandon. What was that first year like starting? I mean, you already talked to us, you started a business, and it was kind of like having to start another business all over again, not to mention the changes that were constantly happening with the pandemic. So I interrupted you, but you were about to tell us how you started becoming Coach Brandon and changed those services. So I definitely tell us about that, of what made you really go, oh, this is what's going to be helpful, especially with the pandemic hitting.
Yeah, it was kind of natural for me. Yeah, there was no Coach Brandon per se, I guess,
I
but
think there was
but I was
always a Coach Brandon.
I was always very coachy. Like,
Mhm.
you know, there was always this like, I only get to see you once a week or twice a week or even 3 times a week, even, in the physical therapy practice. And so I was always very focused on like, these are the things that need to happen, at home, and removing the barriers. So transitioning over to coaching was really natural. But in terms of like making it, or having a coach role, was really natural to me. But the structure and how that looks and the details and like having programs, and that was all new. And so um I hired a coach to help me with that part of it, sort of the business end of it, and like how to kind of like get organized. And I just wanted to learn more. So I hired a coach, and I was part of that coach's group. And that's where I met my dear friend Nick Zell, and we were doing separate things and talking a lot. We were really, really aligned in how we thought and approached things. Like, when you're in the fitness world and the coaching world, as a coach and a trainer, there's a lot of focus on how to make money, right? On the business end. And Nick and I were just always talking about how to truly help people. Like, it's a crazy time. What can we do to serve people more? And so it just kind of felt natural for us to link up. And he had some strengths that I didn't have yet, and I had some strengths that he was still developing. It just felt natural. And we just thought, how can we do this but also be fun? And one of our big beliefs was that, if you just beat people up, if you just make people, give people a meal plan that's super strict, and boiled chicken and Brussels sprouts, I always say, just boring
Yeah.
meals, and focus only on results only, which is what is the tendency out there,
Yep.
right? That people, it's not going to work, right? It's too strict. People are going to fall off. And so we really wanted to strike the balance between like, how do we help people move toward their goals, but still be able to enjoy their lives and still eat food that they enjoy. And so that's where we decided to create Drop the Fat, Not the Tacos. And that, like, really, and it sounds silly, but it's really kind of was really kind of our whole philosophy. Like, how can you move toward your results and the body that you want, and be healthy, but also, live the way that you want to live.
Now we're getting to the good stuff. This is the really good, exciting stuff. And I love that. And I loved it when I first met you. Drop the fat, not the taco. I love tacos. And I wanted to lose
Right.
weight, but I didn't want to stop eating pizza and tacos. And I wanted to have those
Totally.
things. And so it's more than just a Facebook group. It's more than just our little saying or something we say to be cute.
Totally.
It is, like you said, our entire philosophy on health in a nutshell. You should be able to live a healthy, happy life and still enjoy some of the things that you do, even if they're not the healthiest things for you to consume or do, right? Within reason.
Totally.
So
Yeah,
why is it important to
absolutely.
you? And why do you and I now continue to run the business on that same philosophy and mantra? Why is that so important?
Because it works. because because I think a big part of what, our culture and how we perceive health is not real. It's not healthy. I mean, we see pictures of people, and we judge, we base our uh our gauge, our standard of health is very much based on appearance, for one. And it's also really based on like what we see in the media, like based on like celebrities. And now with social media and Instagram, it's based on, influencers or whoever we see. Like, we're just inundated with all these images of people. We don't get to see what they actually do. Like, those are people who actually get paid, right? To do
Mhm.
nothing but, trim their waistline and get bigger biceps or whatever, and um it's just not real life. And I think it's really important, to love and appreciate your body, and love and appreciate a realistic body, real bodies, right? Not just these like, bodies that look like action figures, or, that we grew up with. Um, and so that's why it's so important to me is, like we as a culture need to change our perception of what health is. And I really want to be part of making those mindset changes and changing the culture and how we perceive health and how we perceive ourselves, and being kind to ourselves and valuing different things about our bodies. I mean, our bodies do absolutely incredible things. I mean, if you look at your body from a biological standpoint, you look at your body like a machine, it's unbelievable. It's seriously unbelievable what happens in there and what we're capable of doing. And, the success rate of the most complicated mechanism machine and ever, right? Like my car breaks down every once in a while and it's not nearly as complex and complicated as my body. And so, and other things like dealing with aging and that kind of thing. Like I want to help people with those things. And, I think it's really unfair that so many people hate their bodies.
Yes.
Or
many
feel
reasons.
so frustrated and defeated. And they think that the only way to get right, I think everyone, like, dude, if you're listening, like raise your hand if you've taken on like major change, like some major diet, probably. Like everyone I know has done it, every single person. So you're not alone there. But if you've taken on a crazy major change that was super, super hard and you had to work so hard to do it, right? And you achieved some sort of result from that, only to later lose it. Right? Yeah. Right.
Actually, I think this is probably a good place for me to interject because I mentioned how you and I run the business, and we still run the business this way. I skipped over a big part of the story there. I think right where I cut you off when you were talking earlier, though, is right about the part where you and I intersected yet again. At this point, a little over a year ago, which I can't believe it was only a year ago and it was an entire year ago, but you and I have been doing personal training with my husband, and I took your online boot camps as well. And it was less than 2 months before I was like, you know what? All right, let's do this 12-week coaching program that you had developed to put these healthy habits into place, because I was sick of being all the things I was. To make a long story short, you totally changed my life. I am a completely different person than I was when I met you, and it's for the better. I had confidence when I finished working with you. I felt comfortable in my own body. I'm not saying I'm perfect and I love every inch of myself, but I feel comfortable in my body for probably the first time in my adult life. And I reached a goal that it took me years to get close to, but never actually fully achieving it until I found Contra Costa Fitness and you. And our work together really did give me a pretty stable foundation, if I do say so myself, that you did promise me. And focusing on my health is now quite literally a priority for me. And simply put, a couple short years ago, it was the hardest thing for me to do. I really couldn't do it. And when I first met you, I was like, meh, this is going to be hard. I'm not going to be able to do it, but let's give it a shot. And all I did was listen to you, and it actually worked.
That makes me super proud. So that's it. That's why I do it. Right. Like I got a couple of texts this morning from people that were like, oh my God, like it's actually happening. And I'm not doing crazy shit to get it. Right. Like I don't have people starving out there. I don't have like, people who are like, oh, I can't wait until this is over. Right. I lost my 30 pounds, but I cannot wait to go back to my normal life. Like, no, like really love helping people change their lives and figure out how they can live comfortably, and again move toward their goals. Yeah, you just got it right. And when, oh God, you got it, and you understood it. I'm sorry, I like get emotional when I think about my my clients and the kind of changes they make. You were in such a tough place.
Mm-hmm.
You were in a hard spot, and anytime I take someone on, I'm just dying to help them and for them to see, what life can really be like. And you did it, and so
You
at
made
the
it feel
time.
manageable, though. That's the thing, is I had a lot going on. I was caring for a lot of other people who had very high demands. And I know all the women out there who are listening to us, and you're going, oh God, me too. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Especially as women, we take on a lot and we're caring for a lot of other people. And I thought there was no room for me. And you said there absolutely is. And I'm going to help you find the room for you. And that's what you did. And all I had to do was just take your coaching and your guidance, and look at you. You're getting emotional, and that's just who you are. You care about the people you work with.
Oh, I do, and I appreciate that. And I think that's what makes me effective. But so yeah, you understood it so well, and you had the passion along the way. You just developed a passion for what we were doing, and I knew you really appreciated what we were doing. And I tell people all the time, like I it's my philosophy as part of my business and personally to collect awesome people. That's just, if I can make a space. I mean, that's how I found Nick. And I was just like, this guy is awesome, and I want him to be part of what I'm doing. And I'm super proud of him. Like, Nick's not with us now, and I just want to say, like, Nick, if you're listening, I'm so proud of you, and I love you, and I wouldn't be here without you. He's a really big part of this as well. Beth, if you guys know Beth, she's another one. I believe in bringing those people, and like I'm lucky. I have a platform where I can share those people and their strengths and what they can do to the world and for the world. And so I try to do that. And so, yeah, I made you the offer. I proposed that you come and number one at the base of all of that is like anyone I meet, and everyone who I've decided to bring along with me. At the base of that, all of them have just had a really big heart, and they care deeply about other people and doing things the right way. And so, yeah, that's why you're here.
I remember coming back from visiting my family in Pennsylvania when I finally could go visit my family in Pennsylvania and see my niece again. And it was interesting because my husband was really concerned if I was going to keep up my healthy eating, my workouts, because it's really hard to do when you go to Pennsylvania and you're vegan like I am. It was challenging. And I remember coming back and saying to you on our first coaching session when I got back, oh my God, I am so proud of myself. I'm finally at a point where it was my priority and it was what I wanted to do. And I didn't want to do anything else until I got my workouts in. And I put my own workouts together. It was the first time that I put my own workouts together because I wanted to work out every day and you were not available every day. And I said to you, I really would like to put some workouts together. Do you mind if I teach a couple classes here and there just for fun? And you went, well, I was thinking a little more than that. And I thought you were crazy. You knew my life. You knew everything that was going on and how much I had happening. And then I thought about it. It made sense. And I realized that who you are, which I don't even have to tell our listeners, you've made it pretty clear what a big heart you have. But to have an opportunity to work with you and Nick and Beth at the time, you were in a very similar boat that I was, and you just really wanted to help people. And I had an opportunity to be working with an amazing business partner who cared so much about his clients that you cringed at calling them clients because it felt too cold and informal. And I thought, yeah, this is where I need to be. And so one of the very first things you wanted to do when I first came on board was you wanted to create the Clean Club. You had no idea what it looked like. I remember you coming and having this crazy idea, not knowing how it was going to work, but you wanted to make sure that sustainable and simple fitness and lifestyle habits to have a healthy, happy life was affordable to everyone. You wanted everyone to have access to those resources and access to us. So we created the Clean Club, and that was your brainchild and what you really wanted to do to make this available to everyone to help as many people as possible. So full circle, if you look back to 2019, did you ever imagine Contra Costa Fitness would be what it is now when you got started?
Yes and no. Yes and no. One of, again, a big part of my journey, has been my clients. I've learned a lot from the people who I've worked with, and I've been so fortunate to, turn into friends and who I've met along this way. One of the really early ones, John, he one of the first things he asked me was like, what do you want to do with your business? What's your like vision? Do you want to make $1 million and retire? Do you want to like blah, 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 blah? And the first thing I told him was, I want to change fitness culture. Like, I want to change how the world looks at fitness. He was like, wow, the world. I was like, yes, the world.
Yeah, at least correct. The world.
At least around me, as much as I can. I want to change whatever, if it's one life, if it's 10. But I want to change the health and fitness culture around me. The way I'm doing it is definitely different than I expected. But at the same time, like when I look back, like how would I have done it how would I be doing this any other way? So yeah, I don't I don't know if I really expected it to look this way, but this is I guess I expected it to look some way. And I always envisioned Contra Costa Fitness, being a big motivator of change. I think we're just scratching the surface.
Totally. I agree.
But the Clean Club is a huge step. And part of that, the big problem we ran into in the beginning was like, how am I, like, at the end of the day, yes, I have to put like food on my table. Like, it's hard to make a living as a trainer, and I cannot, I can't change the world if I can't even eat, right? And so that was always really tough for me, was like, God, like what I do in order to scrape by, I had to offer like a premium service, right? Like, it's just time for money. And I just, like you said, was really trying to figure out how, like, you can't change the world one, affluent person at a time necessarily, right? Like, I've always felt super strongly about reaching people who don't have those kinds of resources, and serving the community. Like, my ultimate goal in life is to be able to, to offer, or to be able to subsidize those like one-to-one coaching services for free somehow to people, and offer that. So I do give away as much as I can, probably to my detriment, but I just believe that it's the right way to do things. But the Clean Club, the idea of that was to gather people and, one, create more community, and then make these resources as affordable as possible. Like, you shouldn't have to, because there's so much out there, right? Like, meal plans and workouts, like, we can find them, but it's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's hard getting access to a coach and being able to ask a coach who's seen some things and who knows some things. That's expensive, right? And I feel like, I feel like it shouldn't be. I want to give people the opportunity to be able to access that, without having to work at a tech company or whatever.
And I
Um,
feel like you and I are really lucky to have the partnership that we do, because you are really just a walking encyclopedia of the human body. I mean, you know the physical therapy aspect, you know the training aspect, and man, oh man, do you know the emotional components of it. I tell people all the time, I know you may think it's weird having a dude as a coach, but the first conversation you have with Brandon, you'll realize he's just one of the girls. And the best part is you also get me, and I may not be the biggest expert in the world, but I have access to one, thank goodness. And I just went through something that all of our clients are trying to get through, and I'm still going through it. So it's having that, we've got a pro who knows what they're talking about, and we've got someone who has been down in the trenches with you right where you are right now, not too long ago, and probably deals with that a little bit. I still deal with those things, and I'm still getting over things, and I still utilize you as a health coach. I can't get through it without you, for sure. And so that's a really killer combination, is you get somebody who you really truly do get it and sympathize and have compassion. And so do I, but I was just there and I'm just coming out of it. So having these two great resources is pretty amazing for us to be able to offer that to people in our Clean Club. And even though it's not planned, I want to stress that if you're like, God, what is this thing? I really would like to know what it is. On Thursday, June 30th at 5:30, we do have an open house planned. Brandon always forgets to tell people how to actually sign up and where to purchase the subscription. So don't worry, there's no sales. I have to remind him to tell people where to find that. He's just so focused on making sure you know what resources we have and where they are. So it's a great low pressure place to check it out and see if it's something that would be helpful to you, or maybe somebody you know that needs help with that.
Totally.
And meet us. Ask us questions.
Come meet us. Ask questions. That's what it's really, really about. And thanks for doing that, because I'm horrible at promoting what we do. I just like talking about it and giving stuff away.
That's why we like you. You hate being the salesperson and you like being the heart. We like that.
I'm glad you brought up, just really quickly, the emotional part too. We talk about like lifestyle, and we all just think about like things we need to do. And the biggest part of the journey, I think, is the emotional part. And we talked about learning to love your body and that kind of thing, but learning to love the journey, and learning to how to cope with things. Like, we live in a tough time, and it is hard to prioritize ourselves, and it is hard to develop new coping mechanisms, right? Like, a lot of our habits, a lot of our not so great habits, they're just coping mechanisms that we need to break. And that means that we have to do some emotional learning. And that's a really tough thing. And honestly, I come by a lot of that just from my recovery background. Like I told you guys, I was a big troublemaker.
He was not kidding.
I'm not joking. If you want to hear stories, shoot me a message, or ask one of my old friends. They'll tell you terrifying things. But yeah, that's fitness and health and wellness, like, and sort of regaining that that footing when we've part of our life has got out of control or whatever. I mean, that is recovery. It is. And if if you don't speak that language yet, and you're trying to make changes, relying only on willpower, right? Like, just wanting it so badly, like, and discipline, right? Like, I've been doing this a while, and it hardly ever works that way. Some people have extraordinary amounts of discipline, and that's great. Like, they're awesome. They're unicorns, because we have to do some real emotional learning. And if you're not doing that part, I think there's a big piece missing to the puzzle. And I really love being a part of that. That's my favorite part about what I do, is introducing people to those ideas. And it just makes not just our health and fitness easier, but our lives, right? We practice the stuff that we learn in here elsewhere. It's not just, meal plans and workouts. It's, it's our entire lives. It's our relationships. It's, how we carry ourselves out in the world. That stuff has to be taken into account when we're thinking about our health. So it's a very big picture. It's
Very
a very
big.
big picture. Thank you for bringing that up, though. I won't go too deep into that. All right.
Well, that kind of brings us to where we are today. So that is the entirety of the sordid history of Contra Costa Fitness.
The sordid dark history, yes.
Before you take us out, though, Brandon, on the topic of practicing what we preach, I'm very jealous, but tomorrow Brandon is going on vacation to the East Coast to visit his daughter, his awesome daughter. So we're going to be taking a break from our Taco Tuesday next week because it's just not the same if I'm sitting here talking to myself the whole time. And there's no way I'm going to make Brandon work while he's on vacation. So we'll be back in 2 weeks. So we'll be back not next week, but in 2 weeks to continue our talks. And I think we're going to be talking about some of those very emotional things that tie into weight loss and getting healthy and getting your habits on track. So if those are things you're interested in hearing about, mark your calendars, because in 2 weeks we'll be back to talk about it. And we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to have you jump in and join us, because that's kind of why we do this, is to make sure that we're giving you information you want. So let us know if it's what you want.
Absolutely. Yeah. Ask the questions. Give us ideas. You guys are our inspiration. Not you guys, you listening. Right? You are our inspiration. You're why we do it. And so 100%. Please don't be shy about asking us questions, giving us ideas, because that's what I want. That's, I want to answer those things. We want to be useful. Mm-hmm. So if you are part of our community, keep doing what you're doing out there. Lifting each other up, being vulnerable. I see people, in our groups, like sharing their stories, and that I think is just tremendous, and really helps the world when you do that. So keep doing that, asking to be lifted up, and lifting other people up, as I say, and keep coming back, keep being part of the discussion. If you're lurking in the background and just kind of listening and watching, that's okay too. We love you. And when you're ready, you know where to find us. Feel free to shoot me a message, or either of us a message, anytime. We really are genuinely here to help. And I appreciate all of you. I love you guys I love you for being here and being part of what I do. Rebecca, thank you for forcing me outside of my comfort zone and making me share a little bit about myself and what I do and why I do it. This has been fun.
Well, thank you for doing what you do and being you. You are truly an awesome human being, and we're all lucky that we have access to you, if I'm being honest.
All right. Thank you. No more. All right. I love you guys. Reach out if you need anything, and we will see you soon.
2 weeks. See you in 2 weeks, everybody.